yes, I expect them to go to the Supreme Court, and I expect them to challenge it, and I do expect them to use the 14th Amendment and that whole corporations are people and Citizens United to actually fight this court case on a First Amendment basis, right? Except in doing that, that undermines states' rights. Remember that the states are the ones who set the valuation of corporations and the laws and the limitations that corporations can engage in within their states. And in doing that, the Supreme Court would override that state's rights, which the Supreme Court is really not prone to doing, especially this Supreme Court is really not prone to doing. They like to adhere to the states' right. It's a very conservative value to do states' rights. And if they do that and they override the states' rights, then that opens the door for corporations to no longer have individual state-based identities and tax programs. It could become a federalized thing. So the next time a Democratic president is in there and we have a Democratic Congress, we can simply pass laws that no longer give corporations tax shelters by being in certain states. Like Idaho, the reason that they court corporations and stuff and how they court corporations, like HP used to be here, Micron is here, etc., is by being like, hey, we're going to lower your taxes. You'll have very few regulations. It'll be great. It'll be like a free-for-all for you to come here and set up shop. That's how Idaho attracts corporations. That's how Texas attracts big business. That's how several of the red states attract big businesses to their states. And if we undermine that state's rights, then we can simply start putting things across the board to be, in adherence with like Massachusetts law or Delaware law or anything like that. And that undermines the state's values. And then states like Idaho and Texas, who really don't have any draw otherwise to attract big business because their talent doesn't actually want to live in these states because of the cultural expectations and the bad education systems, etc., there's no real attraction for them to move here. It actually hurts the states in the long run, right? You take like a state like California has really lax laws in terms of being able to declare bankruptcy. That's why all the startups are there. That's why all the tech guys are there, because most tech startups don't go anywhere. They end up fizzling out and they go bankrupt and they have to start over. And California law allows them to do that very easily with very few punitive steps, etc. So that's why they all start their companies there. And then they move to Texas where they don't have to pay income tax and things like that, while still basically living in California the absolute maximum amount of time they can before they have to file their taxes in the state. Anyways, I don't know how that will pan out. I am very curious to see how it will pan out. What I can say for certain is that I want every state to pass a similar law and to just keep pushing it until we can get a Congress together that will actually pass a constitutional amendment to outlaw Citizens United altogether. That's the goal. But if we do it state by state by state, which is how we got the Voting Rights Act, which is how we got women's suffrage and several other things and gay marriage, etc., eventually they'll just have to comply. So that'd be how I do it. Will be worth watching, and I will, of course, keep you all up to date.